understand the difference between the Supreme Absolute Truth and God. Because there are many gods. What is the definition of God and what is the definition of Supreme Absolute Truth? Okay. The normal definition of God is that He's controller, Ishvara. So therefore there are many gods. You can say Lord Shiva is God, Indra is God, whoever is a controller. Your neighbor is God, There are many gods. Now, what's the difference between the Supreme Absolute Truth and God? Yes?
Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna. I didn't use the word.
Yeah, yes. Krishna is, but that doesn't explain, that's not the answer, though. I mean, that is an answer, but that's not an answer that your friend in school would accept.
Okay, so supreme personality of God is Krishna. But when people say I'm God, then you should probably say like, okay, then can you make this rock into a bird? Can you make you should ask them to do something that only God can do, or Krishna can do, and then they'll realize that Supreme Personality of God, it is Krishna.
Okay, well, in other words, you're saying God has infinite powers.
Yes, yeah.
Right. That is true, but that's not a convincing answer. I mean, you're talking to a person, like, somebody at your school, right? Now, let's say they don't believe in God. Or they believe that God is Jesus. So now how can you convince them there's a difference between their understanding of God and the Supreme Absolute Truth? Yes? What? Okay, the microphone is not on. I have to press the green button. The button has to be green. Yeah.
So Krishna has all the 6 qualities.
Okay, hold it closer to your mouth.
He has fame, and he's rich, and he's beautiful, and he's a renunciate, and he has a lot of knowledge, and fame, and nobody else has that. All of them.
Okay, you're explaining that he has all the opulences, right? 6 opulences, and that's good. It's not complete, but it's correct, but it's not enough to convince a person. Yes? Microphone. But that's very good. Explaining that he has all opulences in full.
Is it the Sad Aishwarya Puranam?
Well, that's what she said also. Sadaishvarya. Purna.
The Sad Aishwarya Purnam, which is 6 complete, 6 opulences are complete, and then Asta Siddhi Purnam, which is 8 mystical powers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Aja, or Asta Siddhi Purnam. Yeah, okay, so now we're getting really close to the answer. Okay, there's 2 other points. First of all, as you said, he has Said Aishwarya Purnam, 6 opulences full, riches, beauty, fame, knowledge, power, renunciation. Okay. Then he has the Asta Siddhi Purnam. He has the 8 mystical powers completely, right? But then he's the maintainer of all living, of everyone else. Right? Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. So you have to put that point down. He's the maintainer of all. He's the Supreme Eternal who's the maintainer of all other eternals. But most important of all, He is the origin of everything. Janmadasya yata is the origin of everything. Huh? He's the origin of everything. So now we have, Sadaishvarya Purnam. He has 6 opulences in full. He has all the mystical powers, 8 mystical powers in full. And he's the maintainer of everyone. Maintainer of everyone. And then he's the origin of everything, including Narayana and Vishnu and all the incarnations, as well as the entire material creation and all the jivas, all the individual living entities. So we have to write all this down. Let me see. This should be on also. Okay, so are these things from last week also? Yeah. Okay, so these are the differences. Did you get your notes from last week? Everybody got the notes?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
Okay, so therefore this subject should not be unknown to you, right? Because you got the notes from last week. So this is what we discussed last week. The difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the concept of God. First of all, it should be S-A-D, Sad Aishwarya. It means he possesses the 6 opulences. Krishna, full of these 6 opulences. In the material world, no one can have these opulences permanently or completely. It should be either permanently or completely. Someone can have these for some time, but they lose it to whatever. So you have to put, they cannot have these opulences permanently or completely. You have to add the word completely. Someone can have these for some time, but they lose it. You don't say to someone else. They lose it in due course of time. Take out someone else. Someone can have these for some time, but they lose it, or in due course of time. Okay, so we spoke about Vrikasura is a demon. He performed, is a demon who performed severe austerities, even by putting his body parts in the sacrificial fire. Who performed severe austerities. That makes, okay, in other words, then Lord Shiva appeared and gave him a boon. And, okay, the boon is that whoever he touches his finger to, that person's head will burst into 1,000 pieces. After getting the boon, Vrikasura wanted to try the boon on Shiva himself. Shiva starts running to save his life and reaches to Vishnu to protect him. Vishnu comes in the form of Brahmana to Vrikasura and asks why he is running behind Shiva. Vrikasura explains the situation. Then the Brahmana tells Vrikasura that Shiva does not have any powers to give boons, and unnecessarily you are running behind him. The Brahmana speaks so compellingly that Vrikasura believes him. The Brahmana finally tells Vrikasura that you could not try, that you should try it. You should try it on yourself. Oh, no, no. Tells Vrikasura that you should try it on yourself. And Rikasura touches his head with his finger, and his head breaks into 1,000 pieces. Okay, now that's getting a little bit off the subject. We're going to stay directly on this subject. That we told that story to show that Krishna saved Lord Shiva, right? So, he also instructed Lord Brahma. So Brahma went to see him once, and then he got in Dwarka, and then, of course, we told that story. He was asked, which Brahma are you, etc. All right? But now we're just dealing with the subject, how to tell the difference between the Supreme Absolute Truth and God. So, one is Sadaishvarya Purna, two is Asta Siddhis. Let's go down. Did we actually say what the cities are? Yes. Anima, Lagima, Prapti, Prakamya, Mahima, Yat, and so forth. All right. And then number 3, he has his incredible mystic powers, which is called Aja. It means the cities. And he can confuse anyone. He can bewilder Brahma and Shiva. But actually, his mystic power is Yogamaya. He has a Yogamaya potency. So this Aja is not only the mystic powers, but also Yogamaya. Yogamaya means he can put anybody into illusion. But there's 2 types of illusion. There's Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Yogamaya is the illusion by which you come closer to Krishna, and Mahamaya is the illusion by which you go farther away from Krishna. So, so when you're speaking, let's say to someone in your school who doesn't believe in God, they're under the influence of Krishna's Mahamaya. But therefore, they're an illusion. They don't think God exists. And they're going farther and farther away from God by engaging in sinful activities. But in the spiritual world, especially in Goloka Vrindavan, for people to come closer to Krishna, they have to be in Yogamaya, under the influence of the illusion. They don't know Krishna as God, but they just love Krishna, so therefore they can be very intimate with Krishna, playing with him, and so many things. They can't do that in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, they worship Lord Narayana with awe and reverence, so they have to be fully conscious that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, they can't think of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, otherwise they wouldn't be able to be intimate with him. So they just love Krishna. But in order to love him like that, they have to be in illusion called Yogamaya, by which they don't know he's Krishna, but they're simply attracted to him and with love and devotion. Okay? So, this is his Aja potency. He's able to put people into illusion, either the illusion by which they go away from him or the illusion by which they come closer. Now, why would he put someone into illusion by which they go away from him? Anyone can answer that? Yes? What? Microphone. Put it on.
Because the person wants to go away from Krishna and be independent of him.
I'd say that again. Speak louder and slower.
Because a person might want to go away from Krishna and be independent of him, so Krishna will put him under Mahamaya.
Yeah, you can't leave Krishna, you can't act independent of Krishna. That means not listening to Krishna unless you forget him. So therefore, Krishna gives us that facility, if we want to forget him. He puts us under the influence of Mahamaya, and we completely forget him, and we just engage in sinful activity, and we don't feel guilty about it. We think it's right. Right? So, now you see, now we're beginning to differentiate very clearly between the Supreme Absolute Truth and the concept of God. There is a major difference, right? God is some controller, right? And there are many controllers. Lord Shiva is a controller, Durga Mata is a controller, Ganapati is a controller, Surya is a controller. They're all gods. But the Supreme Absolute Truth is one. And no one can be equal to or greater than Krishna. And now we're understanding why. Krishna put Shiva in illusion. Krishna put Brahma in illusion. That's why these stories from the Bhagavatam are so important. Krishna put Narada Muni. He didn't put him in illusion, but he got confused, because when he went to Dwarka, he saw that Krishna was simultaneously present with each wife, over 16,000 wives. Each one had a palace. Each one he had 10 sons with. And he was doing something different in each palace simultaneously. So Narada Muni, even though he knew it, he could see it, still he couldn't quite understand how it was happening. See? So that's this incredible mystical power of Krishna that nobody else possesses. And Lord Shiva, he's the husband of Parvati or Durga. He went into an illusion. He controls Durga in many ways. But he became completely bewildered by Mohini Murti and ran after her and left his wife Parvati. See? So you see that all these things are proving that his mystical power is beyond any conception. Then, next thing, he's above the modes of material nature. And it's extremely important, because even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are slightly influenced, very slightly influenced by the modes of material nature. And all of us are completely influenced by it. But Krishna is not. He controls it. He also controls time. And so once a person went to see Krishna for some reason, but he had to wait to see him. While he was waiting, hundreds and thousands of years went by. Right? So, because Krishna is the controller of time, and there's relativity of time in the material universe. Like, for example, in this material universe, some insects live only 24 hours. During that time, they're born, they grow up, they have children, and they die in 24 hours. But a human being, they're born, they grow up, they have children, they die, but it can take 100 years. And the insect, he does it in 24 hours. So 100 years of the insect is 24 hours of a human being. That's called relativity. Relativity, we discussed the difference between absolute truth and relativity. Anybody remember? Yes.
Absolute truth. Is it absolutely?
What's the fundamental difference between absolute truth and relative truth?
Absolute truth is eternally true, and relative truth depends on something else.
Yeah, and absolute truth does not depend on anything else. Yeah, it's independent. Yes, so Krishna is the controller of time, therefore Krishna never grows old. So if you ever go to the Sistine Chapel in Rome, that's where the Vatican is, the main church of the entire Catholic religion. 500 years ago, Michelangelo was hired by the Pope to paint a picture of God. And he received the instructions from the Pope and the Catholic priests what God looks like. So if you go there today, you can see it. It's up on the ceiling. It's very beautiful. Can you pull up a picture of the Sistine Chapel? I think, did we see this before? I think I showed it. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Was it with the kids or someone else? No. Okay, so if you pull up a picture of the Sistine Chapel, Sistine, in Rome, you see that Michelangelo painted a picture of God. He has wrinkles, gray hair, he's an old man. Yeah, that's it. But you want to make a close-up of it, of God in the Sistine Chapel. You want to put in God in the Sistine Chapel. Picture of God in the Sistine Chapel. So, is that the way Brahma describes Krishna in the Brahma Samhita? What does he say, Advaitam Achyutim Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Nava Yovanam Cha. What does Nava Yovanam Cha mean? Yeah, ever youthful. He never grows old. So does he get wrinkles and gray hair? No. So who made a mistake? Michelangelo, but he just followed what the Pope and the Catholic priests told him. So here you see, yeah, there's God right here. This one here, a little bit below the middle. He has his finger. Now, yeah, the one below it, that's it. That's it. This is God pointing his finger and touching, giving life to Adam. Now, how does he look? Yeah. Well, powerful, but he looks, he has gray hair. He has some wrinkles.
Less powerful, he doesn't look very...
But he's touching Adam. If you see the rest of the picture, you'll see he's touching Adam and giving him life, and he's coming alive. So, this is an example of people who have incomplete knowledge of God. That's another one of the difference between Krishna and everyone else. He never grows old. He lives eternally, and as an eternal fresh youth. And he's present in 3 different ages in Goloka. He's present in Vrindavan in his Kumar age, and he's present in Mathura and I think it's called Kaisura age, and present in Dwarka in his mature age. His mature age is between 16 and 21. He never gets older than that. Yeah. So when Arjuna saw Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Krishna was driving his chariot, Krishna was already 125 years old at that time. But he looked like a young man. And Krishna tells Arjuna, I originally spoke this Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Surya in the beginning of time. And Arjuna got confused. He said, what? You're only 125 years old. How could you speak it to Surya in the beginning of time? That would be like, almost 4 million years before. So what did Krishna tell him?
Never there has been a time where me and you did not exist. Only difference is that you have forgotten while I remember.
No, he said, never there was a time. He says, Bahuni me vyatitani. Never was there a time. No, he says that you and I have passed through many births. I can remember all of them. You can't. That's what he said. So that's another major difference between Krishna and everybody else. He says, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. Right? So many times Krishna has appeared in different incarnations. He remembers all of them. Arjuna has taken birth and died many times, but always with Krishna. He can't remember all of them. Okay. Then, so we have, he's controlling the modes of material nature. In case anyone claims themselves to be God, ask them if they ever had a toothache. Right? You think Krishna has toothaches? And then Krishna is the source of everything. Everything is coming from him. Krishna is above all duality. And everyone in the material world goes through the duality of happiness and distress. Have any of you ever been happy? Yes. Have any of you ever been sad? Yes. So, you see, Krishna is above that. He doesn't get affected by it. And Krishna is Advaita. There's no difference between Krishna and his body. Is there a difference between you and your body? Yes. Okay, so these are some of the differences between the Supreme Absolute Truth and the conception of God. Okay. Therefore, Krishna is not explained as just a God. He's the Supreme Absolute Truth. However, in Hinduism, they think that Krishna is a God. And there are many gods. They don't understand, normal Hindus do not understand the difference between the Supreme Absolute Truth and the conception of God. Most people don't understand it. They're not only Hindus, most people don't understand it. Okay. So that was, what else did we cover? Go scroll down a little bit. We gave all these verses that explain from the Vedic scriptures. There are several other verses that are very important. One is the Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam, Brahma Samhita 5:33. And then there is Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. That's the Katha Upanishad. It's in the purport of Bhagavad Gita. So you should put these verses in there. You don't have to memorize them, but at least you know you can quote them or refer to them. 5. Okay, Brahma Samhita 5:33, and the verse Nitya Nityanam is quoted in the 2nd chapter, 12th verse in the purport from the Katha Upanishad. Okay, so now we're going to go forward today. We're going to discuss there are 4 verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam that give more information of the difference between the conception of God and the Supreme Absolute Truth. And these are called the 4 nutshell verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nutshell means the whole Bhagavatam is constructed around these 4 verses. They're very important verses, most important verses in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is Srimad Bhagavatam's 2nd canto, 9th chapter, 33rd verse. And I guess it's 33, 34, 35, 36, I think, yeah. At least Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 9th chapter, 33rd verse. And Krishna is speaking to Brahma, and he says, Brahma, it is I, the personality of God, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material creation, nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, that which remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So Krishna existed before the creation, during the creation, material creation we're talking about. The spiritual world has always existed, but the material world appears and disappears, and it's called creation and dissolution. And after everything is dissolved, it's absorbed back into the body of Krishna. So Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. But not only is he the origin of everything, he existed, he's always existed, and everything, including time, the modes of material nature, all the living entities, all the incarnations, all the expansions of God, Narayana, Vishnu, etc., they all come from Krishna. And this is the verse in which Krishna explains himself to Brahma. Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 9th verse, 33rd. 9th canto, 33rd. 9th chapter, 33rd verse. All right, it's a very long purport. We're not going to go over it, but I just wanted you to know about it. So if someone challenges you, you have all these verses to explain the difference between the supreme absolute truth and the conception of God. So today we're going to study something new, and that is, there is one scripture that's even superior to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Although Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme scripture in the whole universe. But there's something even superior to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's called Shiksastakam prayers of Lord Chaitanya. And we're going to discuss that today. Shiksastakam. So if you know Hindi, you say, May Hindi Sikh, Yeah, I want to learn Hindi, right? Yeah, so I want to learn Hindi. So learn means siksha, right? So the Shiksastakam, the Hindi word comes from Sanskrit. Astakam means 8, and siksha means it's 8 instructions of Lord Chaitanya. It's the only thing he wrote. But the Shiksastakam is the supreme Shastra. And Srimad Bhagavatam simply explains Shiksastakam. But Shiksastakam is the original, is the supreme instruction of God. So Shiksastakam is the Shiksha, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is the explanation, the Anuvad. Anuvad? Is that no, not Anuvad, then the explanation. How do you say explanation? Anuvad and... okay. So, but in Sanskrit we'd say that the Shiksastakam is the Sadhya, and Bhagavatam is Sadhana, the process. Sadhya means the goal. Sadhya is the goal, and Sadhana is the process. So, we're going to discuss today Shiksastakam in terms, and Srimad Bhagavatam in terms of the goal and the process. Write that down. The goal and the process. Goal and the process. The goal of spiritual life and the process, how to attain the goal. Sadhya, S-A-D-H-Y-A, S-A-D-H-Y-A, and Sadhana, S-A-D-H-A-N-A. So you see, every lesson we're learning what? Like last week we learned the difference between God and the Supreme Absolute Truth. Right? Today we're learning the goal of spiritual life and the process to achieve it. Sadhya and sadhana. And then previously we learned other things like that, broken down into simple words. Yeah. Sadhya and sadhana. 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 Sadhana means the process, how to achieve the sadhya, which means the goal. So, this Chaitanya Charitam, this Shiksastamikam is extremely important. And because it contains the explanations, the meanings, and the hidden sweet times of Krishna in the 8 slokas. If you realize this, then you develop some taste that's so tasty you can never deviate from it. And therefore, that's why at the end it says, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. The Sankirtan movement, the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna, contains everything, all knowledge. And we're going to look into that now. So, someone who becomes a sadhaka, that is a devotee who's practicing Krishna consciousness, and especially chanting Hare Krishna, sadhaka, S-A-D-H-A-K-A, a sadhaka knows that Krishna's name, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, and Krishna is non-different than Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani. They know it for sure. Therefore, we can't always see Krishna, we can't always be, in a sense, physically in the presence of Krishna, or Krishna physically in our presence, but we can always be with Krishna and Srimati Radharani by chanting their names. Why is that? Yes?
Because the holy name is, it's all the transcendental entities and they are present in the holy name.
Exactly right. The holy name and Krishna are non-different. So Hare Krishna is Hare is Radharani, Krishna is Krishna. So all the power of Krishna is present in his holy name, and all his mercy is also, and sweetness is present in the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. We just don't realize it. Do you realize it? You realize it, Krishna? You do? How come you do nonsense then sometimes? That means you haven't fully realized it. When you fully realize it, then you don't do any nonsense. Right. Who does some nonsense sometimes? Raise your hands. Okay, so none of us have fully realized that Krishna's holy name and Krishna are non-different. So, once you realize this, will you only chant 16 rounds a day? No. You'll continue to chant all the time. You can't stop, because you can't stop associating with Radha and Krishna, because it's so sweet and wonderful that it's the source of all happiness. So therefore, it says, Chetodarpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvakanam sherak kaira vichandrika vitaranam vidyavadahu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam pranam ritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam padam vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction of humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. And it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So this is the first instruction, first of the 8 instructions. So everyone is involved in the struggle to survive. Who knows what that means? The struggle to survive. Anyway, microphone.
Not sure, but I'm just like guessing. The struggle to survive, I think it means that they're always trying to be satisfied, and which never works. So they're like struggling to be satisfied, to be happy, to feel complete.
Yeah, I mean, a more basic way of understanding is this: if you don't eat and drink, what will happen to you? You die. So the struggle to survive is to put food on the table. Yeah.
Fierce competition for limited resources.
Well, yes. Now there's limited amount of food, there's limited amount of water, so there's competition.
That's what survival of the fittest.
Yeah, the survival of the fittest. You know, the bear is more fit than you are because he can just hit you once and you'll die, right? So if you're fighting for food with the bear, you're going to lose. You know, so the survival, the struggle to survive means that you always have to be in anxiety to find food and shelter and water and clothing and safety. So there's eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. In order to do those 4 things, you're struggling. Okay? And that people are concerned with this struggle to survive 24 hours a day. They're thinking about it, concerned about it. Like any businessman is very, very concerned. Like I know when I had my factories, and I had 3 factories in France, every payday I was worried. I had to make out over 200 checks. I had to sign 200 checks, you know. So every time I'd sign a check, I'd see how much money is going out of the bank, you know, and it would like hurt, right? And then after you sign those checks, then you have to sign another 100 checks for the suppliers, right? And then you had to also check and sign another 4 checks for the government. So how many is that? You know, 200 for the employees, 100 for the suppliers, another 4 for and the 4 for the government was more than all the other checks, right? And then I knew I had about 6 days before all that money would leave the account. Some of it would leave immediately. Some of it, like 1 day it would leave, but some of them, you know, governments, they usually don't cash their check right away. So then you have to make sure there's enough money so that no checks bounce. Right? So it's a constant struggle. In fact, one time, J.P. Getty, who was the richest man in America in the 1950s, he had an oil company. He was a Texas oil man, right? He had the richest company in the 1950s in the United States. He was asked once, Mr. Getty, do you have any worries in life? This man had billions of dollars, right? He said, yes. He said, what's that? He said, I worry about the end of the month to pay all my suppliers. And he's worried also, even though he has billions and billions of dollars, because he had at least 50,000 employees at that time, right? Now, you have companies that have 100, 200,000 employees, but at that time, he was one of the biggest employers in the United States. He had the richest company. He was worried about paying everybody. Not because you don't have to pay only your workers. You have to pay your workers, you have to pay your suppliers, and you have to pay the government every month. That means enough money has to come in to pay all those people. And then you hope to make some extra money. Huh?
Was that guy the CEO?
Yeah, he was a CEO and the owner, basically.
But I thought the CFO had to.
Yeah, but he has to sign it. Right? He oversees it. Yes.
Who gives you your money?
You asking me personally, or you're saying who gives you money?
Yeah, like if you're like the person who like gives the money.
Well, he gives it to himself, but there has to be money left over, right? After you pay everybody else, there has to be money left over for him to take a salary. Oftentimes, people that are like owners of companies, they don't get paid because oftentimes there's not enough money left over. Okay, so you see the struggle for existence. Everyone is in the struggle for existence, and everyone's thinking 24 hours a day about the struggle for existence, right? But when you taste the nectar of chanting the holy name, you can't stop 24 hours. Just like people can't stop thinking about the struggle for existence 24 hours. When you begin to taste the nectar of the holy name, you can't stop chanting even for 24 hours. You continually chant. So let's say there's something that tastes really good. Like, is there something you like to eat that tastes really good?
Yeah.
What's that? What? Sweets. Okay. Any special sweet you like? Kheer. Okay. Do you feel as if you can't get enough kheer? No? You feel as if you can get enough kheer? Okay. How many times a day do you eat kheer?
Really?
Huh? Rarely. So, do you want to eat more kheer?
I guess so.
Yeah. So, in other words, you can't stop yourself. No, is there something that's more tasty than kheer for you? Like, let's say, there's a candy or Reese's peanut butter, yes. Charnamrit. Well, this Charnamrit. Or any Charnamrit? Or yeah, okay, so there are certain things that you can't get enough of it, right? Because it tastes so good. So for some people it's spaghetti, right? Other people it's French fries and so forth. So that's what happens when you begin to taste the nectar of the holy name. You can't get enough of it. Therefore, you never stop chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Because your chanting will flow like liquid honey, like a stream of liquid honey. Right? The more you chant, the more you taste the sweetness of it. It's just like a river is flowing constantly, right? So the chanting will just flow constantly when you begin to taste its sweetness. So this Hare Krishna is like the Ganges. It's always flowing. Right? And where is it going? Starting in the mountains, flowing toward the ocean. So we start in this lifetime and we just keep chanting till we go back to Godhead. Right? And when you chant, you automatically remember Krishna. And that makes you chant even more. So when you chant, do you remember Krishna? You do? Does Krishna appear before your mind? Yes or no? Yes? Then how come you do nonsense sometimes? So no, you're not seeing Krishna all the time. Otherwise you would never do any nonsense. So this chanting reveals many things. Above all, it reveals that Krishna is closer to you than anyone else. Krishna is closer to you than anyone else. And then gradually, you begin to understand transcendental knowledge. Yes. What? What's that? Krishna is closer to you than anyone else. You know where he is?
Yeah, but then he's supposed to be closer to everybody since he's...
Yeah, but you know where he is? He's in your heart. How close is your heart to you? Is anyone else in your heart? But Krishna is. Who's in your heart? Yeah, your soul, but Krishna is in the heart of your soul. It's in the heart of your heart. It's closer to you than anyone else. So then, certain things happen when you begin to taste this nectar of chanting. Number one, your desire for sense gratification goes away. Number two, you feel happy. Number three, you want to serve Krishna. You want to do something for Krishna. Number four, you don't see friends and enemies anymore. You see everyone as a servant of Krishna. Number five, you develop the knowledge how to use everything in Krishna's service. Like, how would you use an ant in Krishna's service? Would you offer it to him as prasadam? No, of course not. So how would you use an ant in Krishna's? Yes.
You would feed it to somebody. You would feed it some offered grain.
They don't usually eat grains. Yes.
Feed it offered prasadam.
Yes, you offer him Krishna prasadam. Yes.
You can chant,
In front of the
then
ant.
that is a way of chant and listen.
Yeah, Prabhupada said if you see an ant, somebody asked him, how do you relate to an ant? And he said, if you see an ant, you go like this, Hare Krishna. And then you take one grain of sugar that's been offered to Krishna and you put it near the ant. And you'll see he'll come, and once he sees the grain or sniffs it, he'll grab it with his legs and take it to his nest. Or take it to his, the ant hole. So you can relate to you can have a relationship with the ant also, based on Krishna consciousness. The holy name, as you said, and prasadam. So basically you can relate to anyone like that, can't you? Yeah. When you walk by the tree, how do you relate to the tree?
Chanting in front of the tree.
Hare Krishna. So now, have you ever heard an echo? The echo is the trees and the mountains chanting Hare Krishna back to you. That's what the echo is. When you go like this, Hare Krishna, and then you hear Hare Krishna, right? That's the mountains and the trees chanting back to you. It's not just, the sound bouncing off something. It's actually the living entities in the forest or the mountains chanting back to you. Right? So this changes the way you look at things. How does it change the way you look at things? You don't think, oh, that's just a dumb tree. That's just a dumb mountain, you know. Yeah.
Now everything it's a living entity, and everything is also a servant of Krishna.
Yeah. Yes. Everything that's living. Living means it's growing, expanding, and contracting. Is living. And behind it, everything is a person. So the mountain is a person. The cloud is a person. Because clouds are growing and expanding and contracting, you know. And a flower is a person. A tree is a person. Right? So when Lord Chaitanya danced in the Jarikanda forest, what happened? Danced and chanted. Yes. Well, they all chanted and danced with him. The rabbits, the tigers, the snakes, they all started chanting Hare Krishna. Now, you and I don't have the power to make rabbits and snakes and tigers chant Hare Krishna, but Lord Chaitanya did because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so what are the symptoms that we experience when we're actually chanting sincerely? Well, one, we lose the desire for sense gratification. Two,
Happiness.
we feel, two is that we no longer feel the struggle to survive, struggle for survival. Why? Because we're convinced that Krishna will protect us, and we're convinced that Krishna will provide for us as long as we are satisfied with a minimum. Right? So, what does that mean, be satisfied with the minimum? Yes?
Means that you only need minimal needs. Like, to go to the temple, you just need one car. You can just go all together with the family. You don't need two cars. You just need, I don't know how to explain. It's like minimal needs.
Yeah, minimal needs means, like, let's say someone gives you 3 pieces of pizza. How much does your body need?
2.
You sure?
Yeah. Because if that's all you're gonna have for dinner, you.
Well, it depends how big your body is. Right? Yeah. And someone might say, "Oh, 3 is not enough. I need 30 to fill my stomach." You know, and someone else, "I just need 1." You know, or someone else, "I'll just cut that in half, and that's enough." Right? So when you take only the minimum, not less than the minimum. If you need 2 pieces of pizza and you only take 1, that would be less than the minimum, right? But if you need 2 pieces of pizza and you take 4, then you're taking more than the minimum. Right? So you have to know what the minimum is. And just like someone might say, well, I'm living in a 3-room apartment, but my best friend just bought a house with 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and 2 kitchens, and I only have 1 kitchen and 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So I'm going to get a big house too. Does he need all those? No. So satisfied with what? The minimum. As long as you're satisfied with the minimum, you'll never really be in anxiety. And Krishna will provide the minimum easily if you're engaged in devotional service. Now, I'll give you an example. This is a real example. It just happened yesterday, or a couple days ago. There's a devotee that comes to the temple a lot, and his wife comes, and they have 2 wonderful little kids, a little boy and a girl. And his H-1B visa was going to be canceled. You know what the H-1B visa is? What is it?
It's like something you need to stay in America.
Yes, you come in as a foreign worker because you have some skills that Americans don't have, because they smoke too much marijuana, so they don't have that skill. So but you have that skill, so you can't. They let you into the country because you have a special skill. But now, my best friend, Donald J. Trump, is limiting the H-1B visas to only people who earn $130,000 a year, which is most Americans only earn $35,000 a year. So if you earn $130,000 a year, you're considered very well off, right? The majority of Americans don't earn more than $35,000 to $50,000 a year. Okay, so anyway, he was going to lose his H-1B visa, right? So he told me I'm going to probably have to go back to India, or maybe I have to move to Canada, or he was concerned, because he was in anxiety about it. So what did I tell him? Yes, but I told him a little bit more than that. I said, look, if your real desire is to stay near this temple and serve Krishna, Radha and Krishna, because it's been so beneficial for your spiritual life that you don't want to go away from the temple, and you want to stay here, and you have a pure desire to serve, not to get your visa, but just to continue in Krishna consciousness. Then I said, then Krishna will help you, even though it looks impossible. Krishna will help you, if that's your real desire. And it has to be a pure desire. It can't be, I'll pretend that that's my real desire. But my real desire is to continue to have my H-1B visa. No. It has to be a real strong desire to remain in the association of devotees in the temple and to do service. Guess what happened? He got his H-1B visa approved. His company is bending over backwards to give it to him. Now, that doesn't happen so easily anymore. Right? It's becoming much more difficult to get those visas extended, and they're limited now. But he, actually experienced it. And that's not the only time. Previously, other people too, this is more years ago, they were laid off, they couldn't find a job. And I said, look, if your real desire, and then one person told me, I'm going to have to move away to go on the other side of the country to get a job. I said, well, don't give up looking. I said, and if your real desire is that you want to stay close to the temple because you want to continue having good association and chanting and continue to advance in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna will help you. And he did. That person lost his job twice, and 2 times. First time it took 6 months for him to find a new job. And the second time, very quickly he found a new job. And he's still here. And even though he lost his job 10 years ago, first time. 10 years ago he lost his job. And it looked hopeless to get another job. But Krishna provided. So, therefore, the struggle for existence, Krishna makes it easy. As long as you are satisfied with the minimum and your real desire is to associate with devotees and do service, the struggle for existence becomes easy. Krishna makes it easy for you. And I've seen this many times. I saw it in my own life also. That even being in very difficult situations, Krishna, as long as the desire is pure to continue in Krishna consciousness, Krishna will always help. Okay, so we're just on the first prayer of the Siksastakam. First of all, by this continual chanting, the heart becomes cleansed of all unclean desires and thoughts. And the fire of conditional life, this struggle for existence, is put out. It's extinguished. Just like when there's fire, you put water on it, it goes out. So this fire of conditional life is extinguished. And also, the whole problem of repeated birth and death is stopped. This will be the last time that you'll be troubled by repeated birth and death. Right? And then you realize that you're very, very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. Because you're receiving Krishna's mercy. And then you realize, I got to do everything I can to help other people in the same way I've been helped. And then you begin to feel transcendental bliss, happiness. And then you begin to taste more and more the nectar of the holy name of Krishna, and you receive what's called Divya Jnana. Divya Jnana means transcendental knowledge, by which you lose any attraction to material life. But you learn how to use everything material in Krishna's service. These are what happens. This is what happens by chanting Hare Krishna. And this is the first verse of the Siksastakam. We got 7 more to go. Right. So, are there any questions about this? Yes.
What are some methods that we can improve our chances so we can come to realize the qualities of the holy name more effectively?
First method, go to sleep early and wake up very early. Exactly right, Kushi. Stop going to sleep late. Stop eating late at night. Last meal should be 6 o'clock. And the earlier you go to sleep, the better. Like if you go to sleep 9, some people have to go to sleep 8:30 in order to wake up 4 o'clock. Right? So there's 2 things. There's lifestyle change and there's diet. So both things require regularity. This is what differentiates a devotee from a weak devotee or a devotee from a non-devotee. A devotee is very regulated. Very regulated. And a devotee is satisfied in whatever condition they are in. They're not always thinking, I got to go here, I got to go here, I got to do this, I got to do that. No. Why? I got to be regulated because I'm beginning to taste the nectar of chanting every day. This restlessness, going here, going there, is a symptom of a very weak mind. So the weak mind will always say, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. You know, I'm not satisfied. It's because they're not tasting the nectar of chanting the holy name. So you have to stop the restlessness and become very fixed in chanting and being regulated. Then you can chant very nicely. But if while you're chanting, you're thinking, I should do this, I should do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then you're not tasting any nectar, you're tasting whimsical thoughts that take you away from Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is that steadiness. Daryat. Daryat means just steady. People can adjust their watch according to your regularity. They know that, oh, it must be 8:30, opening of the deities. Well, of course, they're late today, so, but you're there 8:30. You're there 5:30 in the morning for Mangal Arati. You're there 7:30 for class. You're there, 9 o'clock for prasadam. Like, you're regulated. Then the chanting becomes like nectar. The more you're regulated, the more you feel happy, peaceful, and healthy. So, lifestyle, diet. These two things are essential for being able to chant very nicely. So the Goswamis, they began to taste so much nectar chanting that they would only sleep a half an hour and only take care of their body, including eating and bathing, half an hour. And that way, they had 23 hours a day to chant. Now, how did they do that? By chanting. They began, the more they chanted, the more they tasted the nectar of chanting. Therefore, now we can't imitate that, right? We can't imitate that. But we can do what Prabhupada said. You shouldn't sleep more than 6 hours a day. Don't sleep during the day. Go to sleep at night, 9:30 at night. Wake up 3:30, 4 in the morning. And you get everything done that way. You should actually chant your rounds, most of them before Mangal Arati. And then you finish it up after Mangal Arati. Then you have time to do everything else you have to do in your life. Okay? Yeah. If you have a restless mind that's saying, I have to go here, I have to go there, I have to do this, I have to do that, and then you won't get anything done. You'll always be behind the 8 ball. You know what that means? Behind the 8 ball. It's a saying from pool. You know what pool is? It's a game people play, right?
The one with the stick.
Yes. You got it like that, right. Look it up on the internet. Behind the 8 ball. See what that means. Okay, so we'll stop now. And next week we'll continue with the Shiksastakam. It's never over. And your homework is write a paragraph about the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. Now, last week we gave homework. No one did it. Let's see next week. What about next week? Tomorrow. Tomorrow's the next class. So homework for tomorrow. Write a paragraph about the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. Everyone should do their homework for tomorrow.
Wait, what are the 4 reasons again?
You're going to get the notes.
From behind the 8 ball is at a disadvantage.
Yes, behind the 8 ball means you're at a disadvantage. So if you don't get regulated, you're behind the 8 ball. What you want to do is get in front of the 7 ball. No, I'm just joking. That's not a saying. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.